You're listening to the sweet sounds of the After Movie Diner. Support us at patreon.com/After Movie Diner. Or I'll punch you in the teats. Rate and review us on iTunes, Earthling. And now, here's your host, John Cross.
Okay, so, hello. I wasn't going to stop.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. I'm just trying to get into it.
Okay.
Hello.
No, that wasn't into it.
No.
Go again.
Hello, and welcome to the After Movie Not Allowed in the Diner Anymore. And just before we ease into what is the third episode of this year's Sleazy Spader Springtime, I just want to draw everyone's attention to a statement that I made on our Facebook page, facebook.com/After Movie Diner. Please, I do urge everyone to go read that, just about everything that's going on. The basic upshot of it is I'm sort of not going to be promoting the show very much or banging on about us or myself or anything online for a bit, because that feels a bit crass and awful. Also, sort of with everything going on in the world, social media should preferably be used for promoting sort of positive values and positive ideas around that, in my opinion. But please go ahead and read the statement. But the upshot, as I said, is if everyone could listen to or subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast platform you listen to. As I said, I won't really be sharing it around social. Either that or just bookmark aftermoviediner.com because it will be going up there. We are going to continue to do the shows. I was kind of, everyone's had a bit of a week this week. It's been one of those things. And as I said, go into it in my statement. Please go read it. But I wanted to continue to do the show because it kind of, even when I was feeling like, I don't want to do anything, it feels awful to do something. It feels awful to be talking about James Spader in a silly way while everything's going on and while police sirens are going past my door because there are massive protests literally 4 or 5 blocks either way from my apartment. And in fact, one walked past my front door today, which was awesome. But it does mean that it's constantly at my front door all the time, which is good, I suppose, but difficult to kind of find the right mood. However, I did find the right mood. I did get my brain to a place where I realized that doing a silly podcast and talking about Sleazy Spader and continuing on like this and doing some fun stuff and having a chat with an old mate and essentially doing a chat with an old mate that goes out to a lot of new mates that have become friends through the community of doing this podcast, that actually felt like a really good thing to do and a really positive thing to do, because without stuff like this and without creativity and without whatever, we'd all go quite mad. So anyway, go read the statement. I didn't want to put too much stuff up front. It's not that I don't care. Anyone following our social knows that I care very, very, very much. But this place and this podcast, unless you want to chime in, Jim, which you're more than welcome to do, is for Sleazy Spader Springtime.
It's no, mate. I don't have anything particular to chime in with. Just like I said, it's a strange time. Silly thing to be talking about, but perhaps just a tiny bit of silliness is all right for now.
Well, I did reach out. I did talk to a lot of people, both in our community and in and personal friends of mine who may not always listen to the show, but might have an invested interest in or might have opinions or feelings about me continuing to do the show at this particular time. And the resounding answer was one of support and yes, please do keep doing it. The last thing that they wanted, the people I spoke to about us doing this, the last thing they wanted was for what they're trying to achieve to snuff out some silly creativity that we're doing. They actually wanted us to do some silly creativity. So that sounded good to me, sounded fun to me.
We should be snuffed out by good taste and viewing figures.
Yeah, no, exactly. Right. No. We should definitely be snuffed out by other people's discerning listening
Progress.
habits.
Yeah. We should be snuffed out by progress and the idea that things can and should, in fact, be better all around.
Right. But we won't be snuffed out by our listeners or our friends, because the resounding messages that we got on Facebook after I posted the statement were resoundingly supporting both the Black Lives Matter movement and us doing this little podcast. So that was fantastic. As part of my statement, I did put a bunch of links that I would honestly urge people to click on, read, educate yourself, learn, and donate where you can. If you can't donate, there are plenty of other things you can do. There are letters you can send, emails you can write, etc., etc., etc. All those links are included. And everything we earn on Patreon or through Bandcamp or through ads that are on the podcast with Spreaker will be donated to various different organizations involved in the movement, because it's literally the least we could do. Okay, so with all that precursoring this episode, it is now all Spader, all the time, all Sleazy going forward. Thanks ever so much for listening and supporting that. Oh, it's Sleazy Spader springtime. Welcome to the show. Oh, it's a Sleazy Spader springtime. I want you all to know that if you please, there's James Spader Sleazy and it's got nowhere else to go. So loosen all your blouses, give your nose a damn good blow, 'cause now we're coming clean, oh yeah. It's 2020 and we're in quarantine. This Sleazy Spader springtime show. Oh yeah. It is 2020's quarantine edition of the Sleazy Spader springtime show. With me, as always, in the Sleazy Spader hot seat for 2020, we have Jimothy Wallace. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. I'm now thinking about what it would mean to sit in Spader's hot seat. What he would have been doing before the seat became hot.
I would imagine that every seat that Spader leaves is somewhat hot. I would imagine he leaves quite a heated, moist patch.
I think every time Spader watches, I'm trying to think what he would watch. Every time Spader watches you got to get it just right. Can't be too sleazy, right? That's too obvious.
What about every time he watches something innocuous like Rachel Ray or something, but that he could also take sleazily if he wanted to? Like some sort of daytime show, which is meant to be quite innocuous.
In fact, no, that's really good, because actually he has a bit of a gastric issue. So he sits there watching Rachel Ray.
Does he have a gastric issue?
He does, when food and people and double entendres. If you put food and double entendres together, the plates, it causes a bit of a rumbling tummy.
Oh, okay. So this isn't like a known Spader thing.
Show, he farts all the way through the show and makes the seat slowly but surely gently warm.
Right.
With his wind.
Yeah, but I imagine that Spader's farts are quite moist. I know that sounds like a grotesque...
I know what he's watching.
Yeah. But good transition, mate, from a serious topic to moistened Spader farts brought on by Rachel Ray. I think that's fantastic. If anyone can...
You said Spader hot seat and like...
Yeah, that's immediately what came to mind was...
my imagination, fired by watching enough James Spader, did the rest.
Spader frantically rubbing his thighs to some
I don't come up with this stuff. This is stuff that his being and performances put into my brain.
Put into your brain. Well, as we spoke about on an earlier episode, you and we have, after these 5 years of doing this show about Sleazy Spader, our antennas are, pricked up, such as it is, and we are picking up through the transom all of Spader's thoughts and opinions. And I have to say, it's a ghastly place to be, but someone has to do it.
Do they, though? I mean, I have often said that we don't have to do it. You, however, have insisted otherwise.
I've insisted otherwise because there was something very satisfying about the Woods and Weller series that we covered both classic Woods and Weller, but also enough of the Woods and Weller on the edge of classic that it felt like a contained thing. It felt like a contained sort of just group of podcast. It felt like an achievement, right? Whereas Kane and Keaton, although John and I did do a bunch of Kane and Keaton episodes, it never felt cohesive, right? And likewise with the New Year's show, ever since Mo, Scott, and I did the first one a few years ago, every single year I've tried really, really hard, much to the chagrin of the other 2 or 3 people I always have on the episode, to do a New Year show, because I kind of want, whenever the After Movie Diner runs its course, whether it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, or 100 years from now,
Jesus.
whenever it's run its course...
Will it be 2 rats? Will it be 2 rats in front of a match going squeak, squeak, Spader, and then like dribbling a bit?
Listen, I tell you what, that would be some kind of glory. No, I meant as long as the After Movie Diner is in existence, that there's something to the idea of, like, within a series of hundreds of rambling episodes, having these little things. Like, no one else that I'm aware of is doing a comprehensive Spader podcast. Now, if someone said to me, well, why don't you just do a separate Spader podcast where you start with his first movie and end with his last movie? No. But within the After Movie...
I think the answer to that would be there's no way we're organised enough for that.
Right, exactly. Right? But it's like your Hammer, right?
You do that. You can just arrange the podcast episodes in, order of film release if you wanted to, right. I guess.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, when we're done with Spader, when we're done with it, there will be a comprehensive list of sleazy reviews for Sleazy Spader, in the same way that when you're done with Hammer Horror, there will be a comprehensive, cohesive set of reviews for Hammer Horror in the voice of the bloke down the pub.
And at the rate you publish them, it'll be about 100 years before I get to the end.
I published one a couple of weeks ago without even telling you. Be quiet.
That's true, but before that, it was 2019, I think.
No, it wasn't, no. I've published at least 4 or 5 this year.
I think you'll find that's 2.
All right. Listen, I feel terrible.
I ruined everything, even though you've spent all day marching for change, which, by the way, I'm very proud of you for doing that, for getting out there and marching and making a difference. But you've come back here to be rubbished by me for your publishing.
Okay, so I want to make it clear. I didn't march. I stood out.
You marched?
No, I stood out with the march while they marched, and I chanted and applauded and was out there supporting. I didn't march in the sense that I didn't move on with the throng, but I supported the throng as they moved past.
I see.
We're still trying to stay home for health reasons, but we have been emailing our representatives. We have been donating frequently. We have been vocal on social. We have been applauding as people have walked past. So we've done and continue to do what I think we can do while trying to also stay safe. But just to let you know that I said that I'd done 4 or 5 hammers. You said 2. The real answer is that there has been 3 released.
So you're a liar. I exaggerate. That seems to be...
Yeah. No, the biggest gap in the hammers seemed to be from October 2019 to March 2020. That was the biggest gap. And something.
How many reviews did you have available, ready to go in that period?
Probably 4 or 5. Yeah. But
you were busy. Like you were.
No, I was. Listen, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, who is a fantastic artist, and we had asked to purchase one of her pieces. You might be able to see it behind me right now, the Eiffel Tower piece that she had painted, Dina June on Instagram for anyone who's interested. Incredible artist. Do support her. And we had first talked to her about getting that piece back in October. It didn't arrive till today. So
that's your excuse?
No. What I'm saying is no excuse. No excuse. What I'm saying is something happened in October, clearly, that since October I've been a little scatterbrained. That's all I'm saying.
Well, to be fair to you, mate, there has been a lot going on in the world.
Well, right, yeah. And just in general, my brain does go through troughs of scatterbrainness. That is just something that it does. And I'm very lucky that...
I think it's probably truer to say that your brain drags itself out of the trough occasionally for means of self-preservation. And then when preservation has been secured, it crawls back into the trough.
Okay, that's a less optimistic way of looking at it, but probably a more accurate one. But luckily, according to a lot of the people on Facebook, they don't mind that. They don't mind. They're happy. Like when I pick up the microphone, they're fine with it. When I put it down, they're fine with it. Essentially, I could do nothing, and apparently they'd all be fine with it.
What you're saying is, whether you were to stop and never do anything ever again, the whole world would collectively, they might not even shrug their shoulders. They might not even make that much of a statement.
Yeah, 10 years from now, one of them might go, John hasn't podcasted in a while, and then go back to whatever they were doing.
That's probably the best we can hope for there, mate.
Listen, I don't mind. It's fine.
So on that note...
I expect nothing. However, on that note, one of the vocal supporters, the constantly vocal supporters of this show, and indeed of Sleazy Spader Springtime, is Monsignor Andy Lunn. He's back with more Luntastic Lunnisms. And do you know what's super exciting? Is that it is, according to Facebook, he just emailed me at 8:04, an hour before we started doing this podcast, to tell me that it's his 6th year anniversary of watching Driftwood, which had just popped up on his Facebook memories, when he did his very own Sleazy Spader Springtime 6 years ago. So
have you done Driftwood, or did you do Driftwood with someone else?
I did Driftwood last round, I believe. Yes. That's a weird one. Ooh, that's a weird one. But
Sleazy? Is it a sleazy one?
It's sleazy. It's definitely sleazy. Yes, it's the one where he's a stranger who washes up on the coast of Ireland for no apparent reason and ends up just having weird sex with a crazy woman in a hut. That's probably the best way to put it. But Andy Lunn, it's Lunn, time for a lot of fun. Andy Lunn. I still haven't figured that out.
I think it's the worst one yet. Even though you attacked it with the most gusto, there was barely a note in there. You were like, I'm going to get to the word fun, and that's going to solve all the problems of this lack of a tune. And you were wrong, mate. You were wrong.
Andy Lunn, isn't it a lot of fun? Shatner and Spader sharing the last cream bun. It's Andy Lunn.
You wrote that down, didn't you? You're reading that.
No, I haven't written it down. This is
you have. You're reading it. No, off the computer screen. I can see your.
No, I'm about to read Andy Lunn's email, which is why I'm looking at the computer screen.
For casting. I can't believe those lyrics were so terrible. I can't believe that you wrote those down.
I didn't write them down. I didn't write them down. As I was singing it the first time, and then you were mocking me.
It would have been a waste of ink.
As you were mocking me.
Crime against ink production.
As you were mocking me, I was reminded of us talking about Spader and Shatner sharing the cream bun, and then I thought that rhymes with Lunn. That was my thought process. Anyway, I'm going to get to this fucking email now. Shut up, you stupid bum face. I'm getting to this email so we can get on with it. And Andy Lunn says in this email, oh, wait a minute, email jingle. Here we go. Boom. Here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. There's something in his big brown sack. I wonder what could it be. Well, I hope the bills it lacks and instead brings me some listener feedback, or maybe, just maybe, a big bag of crack. Oh, here comes the postman. I wonder what he has for me. because in the past we haven't left room for the email jingle and I've had to try and crop it in and it's been annoying. So anyway, Andy Lunn, he says, good day to the both of you. I trust you are well despite having just watched Slow Burn. I may be wrong in this instance as I haven't seen it, but I've always said don't judge a book by its cover, but do judge a film by its poster. And the poster for Slow Burn is one of the worst I've seen in ages. That said, there'll be some Spader gold to mind regardless, and the podcast that it creates as a result of its pure existence will no doubt be highly entertaining as always. Oh my goodness, he's really set us up to really put the pressure on for that.
We can't live up to that.
No, we can't live up to that. But apparently he's easily pleased. This is the 5th year of us doing that, and he's still listening.
He'd have to be, I suppose. Yeah.
So he says, I do like your idea of Spader as James Bond. By your idea, I presume your idea, Jim. Your idea
it was a good one. Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah. He said...
If it was unworkable and slightly confusing, it was yours.
Oh, yeah. Is that how that works? Okay.
Yep.
He says, people moan that Bond should be English, but his blacklist character comes across as a Brit baddie anyway, so why not? The only issue, as I think you mentioned, is his girth. Easy, not that girth. So perhaps a franchise concerning a less in-shape secret agent would be a better option. I can see the lip quiver now as he delivers the equivalent of Bond, James Bond line.
All he needs is the corset and, to read Roger Moore's autobiography, and he's away.
Yeah, I guess so.
What you got to do is, by the way, I've started at certain times, and I'm not like being ironic and being deliberate about it, but I have started making the noise that Roger Moore makes when he's punched in the later Bond films. I've started to go oof like that when I'm standing up or when I sit down, like it just comes out of me. It's Roger Moore being punched in a Bond film.
That's one of the things that I'm so sad about, that we can't be, of everything that's going on in the world. The one thing that I'm really sad about, and I'm joking there, but obviously, but like the one thing I'm sad about is that when we record in the diner, I love to put the phone already recording on the table so that the diner starts with the sound of you and me sitting down in the booth, which always sounds like a collective which I do miss. So I almost feel like we should replicate that in the Skype recordings and both sit down at the beginning and go and then carry on. This is a winning idea from Andy. He says, something else I'd like to see is Spader as Dracula. Oh my God, that would be glorious. But again, perhaps it's too late in his career unless they Benny Buttons him. I don't know. Again, a kind of over the hill, lip licking Dracula with his sort of, he would have to
Van Helsing, so that the women that are like under Dracula's spell don't know who they're worse off with. You know what I mean? So Van Helsing's like, stick with me, and we'll make it all better.
We could.
I think I might prefer the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
I think I feel on a surer footing, because I think he's going to bite me on the neck. I'll be undead. I know where I am.
Yeah.
5 minutes alone in a room with you and that steak.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to lead to.
I don't know what's going to happen. I think you're right. I want to see a Dracula adaptation where Van Helsing out-sleazes Dracula, only to the massive confusion of all the villagers.
I tell you what he'd do. He'd nick his castle and his larder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like live in the castle as a big sleaze monster.
Yeah,
and send that like carriage that like picks up hot chicks, you know what I mean? Where Dracula eats them, he'll sleaze on them. It'll be like a constant like sleaze carriage.
Yeah, exactly.
A driverless carriage of sleaze.
Well, there we go. That's our envisagement of Spader as Dracula. He finishes up the email saying, as you've just completed Boston Legal again, that's me. Kim and I recently did a rewatch. He says, I think you should pick a few choice episodes for Jim to view to discuss on a bonus episode. Maybe one we put out on Patreon or something. Certainly one from the first series and one from the last, so that Jim can witness the transformation under the Shat's influence. All the best, the Lun.
I'm not sure that Shatner would want to be referred to as the Shat. Because that is literally what you would use to describe a poo in the tree, right? It is the Shat.
The Shat.
Well, I guess you would use it to describe if you ate a cheeseburger and then had a poo of the cheeseburger, then you would refer to the cheeseburger as being now the Shat.
Or a creamy bun.
Or a creamy bun, yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. So that was the one email we got this week. Again, as I said, as I've as I've decided to sort of dial down the social media stuff around the show, if you wish to reach out, comment, email, suggest, lambast, lampoon, or just generally give us a hard time, you can via our email, which is hello@aftermoviediner.com or aftermoviediner@gmail.com, or you can call us. Call us at 347-669-0053.
Has anybody ever called?
No. Call us.
Is that phone? Is the phone that's connected to that number like underneath, like a dusty glass bowl?
Yes.
And when you when it rings, you'll be like walking around the pub going, "What is that noise?" And then you like lift off the glass bowl, the cobweb. And they go, "Hello."
It's an old rotary phone on
Hello. This is the After Movie Diner.
On a once elaborate
number, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
And then you'll know it's over.
Yeah, no, I think the only time I've been contacted on it is probably by debt collectors or something. But 347-669-0053.
Good taste. We owe good taste. We're in debt.
But call us or email us at hello@aftermoviediner.com. Because why not? Enough with Facebook. Enough with that den of filth, iniquity, and sadness. Let us email instead with hello@aftermoviediner.com. Hello@aftermoviediner.com. So with all that gubbins out of the way, we are going to ease slowly into the slow burn of Slow Burn, a thriller is how it's described on IMDb.
That's strong.
That's strong. that is stretching your thriller dollar. That really is. That is expanding the thriller putty to the point where the thriller putty is almost snapping in twain. I've gone too far with that metaphor. Anyway, it's from 2000. Believe it or not, it stars Minnie Driver, James Spader. Last week I said Stuart Wilson from The Walking Dead. I was wrong. That was me again being wrong. In fact, it's Stuart Wilson, who's actually a British actor, and but most people over here know him as the baddie from Lethal Weapon 3. He also
that's where I know him from.
He also appears as the Doctor in Hot Fuzz. Because Hot Fuzz puts together a bunch of British people who had been in action films in previous times.
Villains
Yeah. And Stuart Wilson. So I was wrong. And not Scott Wilson from The Walking Dead, Stuart Wilson. Chris Mulkey, who nobody cares about. Minnie Driver, James Spader, and Josh Brolin. So that was the cast of this film. And it's called Slow Burn. And never, I feel like, has a movie really been titled more appropriately. Because not only is it a slow burn, not only do the faces of the people in the movie slowly burn, but after having watched it, and I have to say, I literally finished, the credits started to roll at 9:02, so that's when I finished watching it. Never before have I wanted to watch a movie slowly burn as much as I wanted to watch this, but I wanted to put this film on a pyre and watch it slowly burn and then kind of dance around the ashes.
Really? Did you hate it that much?
I hated it for so many reasons from top to bottom.
So can I ask one before you get cracking?
No, I'm not even going to... Do you know what? It doesn't even deserve me getting cracking. But anyway, carry on.
No, because now you're getting cracking. It's very important to me because all those for the movie, I couldn't figure out. Who was Spader doing? Who was the impression? He was definitely doing an impression of somebody, and I couldn't, for the life of me, put my finger on who it was.
What's funny about you starting that sentence is you could have ended that sentence with anything, and I would have agreed with you. Because what was anybody doing? Like what was anything that was going on in this film? I watched the first half last night, and I watched the second half tonight. I was watching it last night, and I was like, I was turning the volume up, I was pausing it, rewinding. I didn't understand a word that came out of anybody's mouth, let alone Spader's mouth. I mean, the movie is awful. Jim, I need you to run down the plot, such as it is, please.
Oh, really? Okay, all right.
Because I realized we didn't really do that last week.
The plot is that Minnie Driver is in the desert, and she is looking
she's in the desert.
She's in the desert, and she's looking for the buried treasure lost by her grandmother when her grandmother...
Her great-grandmother, I thought.
Great-grandmother walked, was in some kind of car crash, had a big box full of diamonds, and walked the desert and kind of died with the diamonds and was buried. And
maybe it was her grandmother.
It doesn't really matter. Successive generations of the family then went looking for the diamonds, and Minnie Driver is the last in the line of this family. The diamonds have been a bit of a curse in the sense that nobody ever found them and spent their lives in the desert looking. She's still in the desert looking for these diamonds, and while she's in the desert looking for the diamonds, 2 escaped convicts from Mexico, because I guess we're on the Mexico-American border.
We're south of the border. They're in Mexico. They're in Mexico.
Okay, fine. So they're in Mexico, south of the border. South of the border, down Mexico way. And James Spader and James Brolin. Josh Brolin turn up as cousins, escaped convicts, and they find the diamonds by accident, and then they kind of fall in with Minnie Driver because
they find the diamonds
getting out of the desert,
just sitting around.
Yeah, there's no other way of getting out of the desert except through Minnie Driver. But while quite early on, while Minnie Driver, realizing they have the diamonds, tries to get them back, there's sort of an accident and the truck gets broken, and so they have to kind of spend 2 or 3 days in the desert, running out of water.
All right, I've got to stop you because the movie is... I love you. You know I love you. I love you deeply, and I've known you for a long time. The movie is so bad and so dull that it has literally rendered you talking about the movie as being one of the dullest things. And it's not your fault. It's the movie. The movie is so dull.
I don't know that it was that bad.
It was so... I don't know
that it was that bad.
I'm going to give you one example of how bad this is. I'm going to give you one example of how bad this is.
Okay.
Right. This movie starts, right?
Okay.
This movie starts in the past, right?
Yeah.
With the death of the grandmother on a sand dune. That's how the movie starts, right? Right. Okay. You can tell by her dress and the fact that she's carrying a parasol and the bag that she has with her and whatever, that it's the past. But the director, Mr. Christian Ford, who, I mean, you know, if anyone could accuse anyone of being a maverick, I mean, a real maverick visualization guy, I can't even speak at this point, then it's Christian Ford.
Maverick visualization.
I don't know. If anyone could accuse anyone of being like a maverick filmmaker.
No one has ever accused anyone in the history of anything of being a maverick visualization guy. And if they did,
I'm accusing.
It would have been met with puzzled glances and a change of subject, I would think. Quietly and softly moving away. You blathered in the corner. That would be my guess.
But he decides, right? Well, you know, this is... I'm making...
You got to the bit where you're talking about why the movie's bad.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Not completely.
Wait,
I'm giving you one example.
You're giving me one example. I was worried I'd missed it, that's all.
Well, no, because you keep attacking me for not being able to speak very well because my brain's all a bit kaflooey right now. Okay. The movie starts... It's clearly in the past based on why she's dressed. But Christian Ford has decided in his maverick visualization way to overlay the film with the most awful TV production version of like a sepia tone 8mm style film effect to indicate that it's a flashback, as if the entire past history of humanity took place in like sepia tone film world. He doesn't do it for the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie, he trusts the audience that when he flashes back to completely different people in a time zone that we're fully aware of, that we, the audience, will understand. But oh no, at the beginning of the movie, he feels the need to start it with the worst, like, sepia tone film effect I've ever seen. Within the first minute. Not only that, but this film...
Would it have been better if the character had been smoking and there was, like, lots of smoke going across?
But that's fair for you to say that. What Jim is referencing is that when I was... when I was like 18, not 17, and was making really shitty, pretentious films at college, I would often do exactly what he's talking about. And you're right. But the time to do that, mate, is when you're 17, 18, and you're pretentious and at college. The time is not to do it when it's 2000, you're working with James Spader and Minnie Driver, and you're putting out a movie. Like that. That's not the time.
Maybe the difference between him and you is that you stopped, right?
I realized it was
after effects on things, and he kept going. And as a result, you ended up talking about the movie, and he ended up making the movie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
maybe if you'd had more faith in your cigarette smoke after effects.
Let me
make your own James Spader.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that after he made Slow Burn for the video market, I might add, it never got a theatrical release. But after he made Slow Burn, do you think that his career took off? I'm asking you the question. Do you think he did?
No, I wouldn't think so.
No, you wouldn't think so. And you know what? You'd be right. You would be right. It didn't. I mean, he did a few TV movies in the mid 2000s that were the sort of. I don't even imagine that they showed up on the Sci-Fi Channel. You know how the Sci-Fi Channel shows asylum movies, which are called mockbusters because they're kind of like bad CGI mock versions of blockbusters, right? Like Sharknado or whatever, right? Whatever the mockbuster channel is of sci-fi. So you have the Sci-Fi Channel, and then you have the channel that isn't even as good as Sci-Fi, which is probably one of the worst channels on cable. Whatever the mock version of the Sci-Fi Channel is, that's where these movies ended up, and he only made a handful and then stopped. The thing that his claim to fame before this movie, the thing that led to this movie, is that, and this is fascinating, he wrote the screenplay along with Paul Michael Glaser for the Shaquille O'Neal movie Kazam, which is part of one of those internet rumor things. I forget what they call it. But it's where people swear there's a movie called Shazam starring Sinbad, but there isn't. There's a movie called Kazam starring Shaq. And I forget there's some name for it where you could have sworn something happened in pop culture, but it never did. And he is one of the co-writers of Shaquille O'Neal's masterpiece Kazam. After that, he made Slow Burn, and that's really where I jump off the Christian Ford train.
That just makes me like the movie even more.
Oh, really? Don't tell me you liked this one.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. It was obviously terrible, and it made no sense. And the ending was one of the weakest, forced loads of old rubbish I've ever known in my life. I mean, it was back to front pretty terrible. I'm not going to lie to you, but there were long stretches of like 20 minutes here.
There were long stretches
where I was quite enjoying it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because like it or not, even though they were not so much Minnie Driver to be fair, but certainly Spader and Brolin were doing deeply peculiar accents that they really didn't get a hold of at all. But
everyone was doing accents they didn't have hold of. They cast 2 British people in the movie, neither of which really bothered to do an American accent, even though they were meant to be Americans. Both Stuart Wilson, who, as we know from Lethal Weapon 3, does a perfectly decent American accent, because I didn't even know he was British when I didn't really
notice. I mean, he was awful. His character was bad. Everything he did was bad. They thought he was like dripping in charisma, and he's absolutely not. There's nothing about him that's in any way interesting or charismatic. And his character was just completely... he wasn't even like Captain Exposition. He was like Captain... he was like the equivalent of, well, the movie's got to have a theme, right? He's like Captain Theme. And all he was like wandering around going, this is the theme, by the way. This is the theme.
Okay.
That was his purpose.
And you're right. His whole rambling voiceover, which wasn't required in any way at all. Although, actually, no.
His whole character was not required.
His rambling voiceover
it was like
would have been required had they written anything in it that made a lick of sense. Because nothing in this film... Nothing in this. I mean, I know you attacked. I know you attacked 2 Days in the Valley. I know you attacked 2 Days in the Valley, and I gave you the benefit of the doubt, and I agree with you. But that 2 Days in the Valley is like a pulpy B movie ripoff. There's some gangsters and people. None of it matters. Hang on a second. This is a self-contained story about a minimal amount of characters looking for a MacGuffin, and along the way they have to like learn a few things and like double cross a few people. That's all that has to happen in this film, and it can't even manage to do that while making a modicum of sense. You have the voiceover there, which was clearly added afterwards because people watched the movie and they were like, "We do not know what's going on," and even though they added the voiceover afterwards, they still didn't put anything in the voiceover that made a lick of sense. And then it got really fucking bizarre because obviously in the voiceover as the movie goes on, Stuart Wilson is talking about like, well, you know, the diamonds are a curse and, you know, blah, 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 and we shouldn't be out here looking for them. And, you know, it's wrecked every fucking generation and I know what I have to do and blah, 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 blah. And then Josh Brolin, who, unless he has some ability to hear the inner workings of Stuart Wilson's character's voice, he suddenly comes up to Minnie Driver and he's suddenly like, let me tell you who you are and the fact that the diamonds are a curse and blah, 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 and why you don't need them and so on. And I'm like, like the whole thing. I'm like, did he just read Stuart Wilson's lines and then redo them? Like the whole thing. From start to finish, it was so bad. And the one other thing that I will chastise this movie for is this. The movie actually looks, in terms of camera, what am I talking about? Like camera quality, like in terms of film quality, in terms of the richness of the colors and the way they shoot the desert and whatever. The movie actually doesn't look half bad. It looks pretty good. The skies are nice blue. The deserts are nice, like yellow and white. Like the faces and the costumes and stuff like that. Like it looks pretty good, right? So he clearly has like a decent camera and a decent person who sort of moderately knows how to use it. And he has Stuart Wilson, Minnie Driver, James Spader, and Josh Brolin, none of who are like huge names, but they're all names that like if we got one of any of them in a movie that we did, we would be absolutely over the moon, right? Except maybe Minnie Driver. But anyway, even her, you'd be like, well, at least I can sell it off the back of Driver, I guess, right? When you have those four people and you have a cameraman or a camera person who at least knows what they're doing with a camera that shoots at least reasonable film and clearly some money because you get to go do this movie, that you then bring back this film makes it an even bigger crime. Because how you fuck up those four people in the desert with a diamonds MacGuffin, how you fuck that up as royally as he fucks that up, I've just no idea. I've no idea. And the moment James Spader came on set and was like, well, I was thinking of doing like a blah, 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 blah kind of voice, I would have been like, no, stop immediately with that. You are immediately destroying everything that makes Spader amazing. And trying to do like a kind of, I don't know, twitchy Steve Buscemi type character. And it's awful. And it ruins, this movie ruins Spader. I now open the floor to you.
Look, it's a bloody awful movie. I'm not gonna deny. But what I liked about it was, and why I like the Kazam story is that it's clearly a labor of love, right? It's clearly a guy who's gone to Hollywood and he's probably written a bunch of, screenplays like that. The old '90s movie staple of guy moves to Hollywood, wants to write like meaningful dramas and ends up, writing Kazam, right? And then because he's written Kazam, he gets his break and he gets to make his movie and he gets, look, like as you say, he's obviously got an eye for a shot And he's got an eye for talent because he's managed to get Brolin, Spader, and Driver in a movie together, all of whom are talented actors and have a lot of, charisma. And even though two of them wreck it with an accent, I didn't really get the Driver thing, but fair enough. I'm sure he's right.
She's meant to be American, but she's
English.
No,
I didn't hear I've heard my fair share of British people trying to do terrible American accents and vice versa, and it didn't really strike me as that. But I'm not saying you're wrong. I just didn't notice it. That's all. But I like it because the reason that it's rubbish, that it's a terrible movie, is that he's trying too hard. And he's trying to make what is a small, with a movie like this, right? What you should be doing is you do a thing, you tell us, like you're saying, a small self-contained story where there's some double crosses, there's diamonds, like the themes are there, they're they write themselves. It's, it can almost be like a Waiting for Godot kind of a thing. There's lots to work with there. And all you need to do is just have little moments of like thoughtfulness and whatever, come out of that naturally, just by putting those people in that position, that situation. But because he tries too hard, it ends up like not making, as you say, a lick of sense at all. And the symbolism is unbelievably heavy-handed and pointless. And it just ends up being, well, the symbolism and what I'm trying to say is more important than whether this makes sense or not. And the fact that it doesn't make sense is a badge of honor. And it's not really. It's just confusing. But here and there, Spader's weird accent, Brolin's weird accent notwithstanding, I just quite liked these three people in a desert who couldn't move. It didn't devolve into her feeling like there wasn't any like overt sexual violence in it, you know what I mean? Where they were convicts and she was on her own. It was one of those 90s movies where people kind of they don't make anymore, but people used to just like bum around in places and not really say anything or do anything, like Baghdad Cafe and things like that. And they were very like, 2:00 in the morning, ITV, the world kind of teenager movies in the 90s. And this is one of those. It's not a good one, but that's the vibe. And that's what I was, when the parts of it, when it just stopped trying to be pretentious and it stopped trying to tell a story and it was just them trying to fix the truck or her trying to steal the diamonds, just like simple little moments of
right. But then the whole thing with it, wait.
I was enjoying that.
But hang on a second. And you're right. Listen, if this had been a sort of Paris, Texas style, we're not really going to say very much, but we're going to bumble around the desert and there's going to be some diamonds, but the diamonds are really inconsequential and we're all really truly trying to like figure out our past and what we're all doing on this plane of existence kind of thing. But we're going to do it by not saying anything, and there's going to be a bit of Americana fizzing in the background and blah, 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 blah. I would have been all over this. I absolutely agree with you. I have no problem with dusty desert Americana movies where not very much happens and the characters are all fairly thinly drawn, but they all ultimately...
In no way was I saying, clearly you can't appreciate. No, I get it.
I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I'm just saying, had it been that.
There's a thing with me where there are certain kinds of movies that no matter what happens, I don't like them, right? I don't like them.
I know you have a whole long list of them. Every time I bring up, people don't know this, but every time I bring up a movie we might be able to do in Facebook Messenger when Jim and I are chatting, Jim goes, nope, I don't like movies where like two dwarfs are stuck in a haunted house and have to like re-knit a sweater that was owned by, Greta Van Susteren.
I don't like movies where, actually, that's the thing. This is very close to being a kind of a movie that I don't like, which is I don't like movies where everybody's an asshole. There's a large quantity of money at stake, and everybody spends the whole movie fucking everybody else over for that money. I hate those fucking movies. They're boring. And anyway, there's lots of them, especially in the 90s. And this is one of those. But what I liked is that it wasn't them trying to fuck each other over. And they squabbled a lot, but you did at the end.
But they squabbled a lot, and it was so interminable.
What I liked about it, right, again, taking a slightly wider and incredibly generous view of what was going on, there was a thing in it where they were all lost and looking for, something, right? And they all get a chance at, and that's one of the nice things in the movie, where there's moments in the movie where they actually connect with each other and like being in this place, albeit for a short period of time. They're actually they're comfortable being there, and then they pull away from it and still in pursuit of this dream. And it was just quite gentle, and it felt nice. And I think that if he'd only had the talent, I think, to express what he was trying to say, it would have been a good movie. But and this is again why I identify with it. Right? I personally identify quite heavily with the guy that made this movie, because he, as you rightly say, he had it all there, and he was reaching for something, and he utterly failed to get there.
Right.
Through nothing more than an absence of talent. Is why it wasn't. It wasn't because he was cocky, or because he was cruel or arrogant, or he wanted to take the audience to the cleaners. You know what I mean? Nothing where 2 Days in the Valley was just made by a bloke who thought he could get away with it. He could just get away with a load of old rubbish because he wanted to look at some arses, right? Yeah. This is he had a noble vision of this movie, and he fell short, and it was a confusing and boring mess that in the end was laughable. It was so bad. Yeah. But he failed because he wasn't talented enough to succeed. And I personally identify with that, right? No, I get that. I felt quite close to him while the movie was being made. Thinking, I know what it's like, mate, to try and do something noble and to fall short.
Listen, I'm not good enough. I'm not openly mocking or attacking. Well, I am, but I'm not really the visionary that is Christian Ford. I'm not. I wish him all the best. I hope he's fine.
He went back, as you're right. He probably bummed around for a bit, made a couple of TV movies, and went home. And he probably wrote a screenplay at some point. I am willing to bet large quantities of my anatomy. Yeah. At some point, he wrote a screenplay about a writer who went home after failing in Hollywood, and while he was at home living with his parents, fell in love with a nightmare, a manic pixie dream girl. He wrote that screenplay because he went home, sat in his mum's basement, right, and wished that he could get laid. So he wrote that screenplay after failing in Hollywood. And I bet it was nearly good, but probably not actually very good.
Right. No, and listen, that's fair. I was maybe unnecessarily harsh on Christian.
No, you can be harsh. It was balderdash. And it was boring.
The movie.
What I liked about it was the mood of it drew me in, but it was boring and it was balderdash.
Except that just as it was building anything near to a mood, right? Yeah. The plot became, I want the diamonds. Actually, I don't want the diamonds. No, I think I do want the diamonds. No, I don't want the diamonds. I think I'll go get the diamonds. No, I don't think I'll get the diamonds. I think I'll take the diamonds out of the chest and put them in my hat. No, wait a minute. I'll take the diamonds out of my hat and put them back in the chest. And then I'll go in the tent and I'll put the diamonds. It just went on and on and on with diamonds and no diamonds and diamonds and no diamonds.
No, but I don't think that's fair, because I don't think that actually happened. I know what you're saying.
It actually did happen.
No, but it did keep derailing. But at no point did she ever go, I don't think I want the diamonds. Right at the very end of the movie, there's a bit where she goes, all right, fair enough, you talked me out of it, I won't get the diamonds.
No, I'm not just saying she did. I'm saying every character, right? Because the big chunk of the middle of the movie is the three characters, James Spader, Josh Brolin, and Minnie Driver in the desert with the diamonds, right? And the diamonds are in a case that she has a key to, right? And they don't know that she knows anything to do with the diamonds. Although, weirdly, Josh Brolin knew all along, because although he's some sort of weird simpleton, he also secretly knows everything because he looks at everything and he saw the green, whatever. No, hang on a second. I'm just saying. It's convenient fucking third act revelation nonsense bollocks. But anyway, the big middle section of the movie is at one point, she took the diamonds out and put the diamonds in her hat. And I'm like, great, she's got the diamonds. She put glass in the diamond thing, and then locked it back up again. And I'm like, that's perfect, because they know that they can't open it anyway. They've tried to shoot it open. They've tried to stab it open. They know they can't get it open. They know that they're going to be long gone by the time that they will even be able to open the case. And then out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever, she puts the diamonds back in the box.
No, but again,
fucking no understanding of that whatsoever.
That's not true. And then, that's not true. That's not what happened. That's not what happened.
That is exactly what happened.
No, it's not. Because I agree with you. That did happen, and there was a lot of that. But to be fair, the reason that she did the diamonds thing, and again, there's not a lot of things that I identify with the movie or thought worked, but after she finds out that Josh Brolin is an expert safe-cracking lockpick, and James Spader makes it very clear that because Josh Brolin doesn't want the diamonds, he wants his share of the diamonds now before he changes his mind. And he starts shooting at it, and Josh Brolin starts fiddling with it. And she knows, it's going to take me days to fix the car. They're going to be in the box before then. If they find out that I've nicked the diamonds, I'm dead. So that's why she put the diamonds back. I'm not saying it wasn't like stupid time-wasting nonsense, but like there was a reason for it.
Right, except that they don't even... First, okay, they don't know that she knows that there's diamonds in there, right? They don't know that she has the key to the diamonds. They don't know that she has any connection at this point to the diamonds whatsoever. And because they haven't been able to open it up, they don't know that there's even actually diamonds in there. So...
No. They know the diamonds because the case was open. They know there's diamonds in there. They didn't just take the case. They knew the diamonds were... The case was open when they found it. They knew diamonds were in there. And I know what you're saying, but I think that under circumstances, that was quite near the beginning of them coming across her.
No, you're right. Okay, it was open and they did know there were diamonds.
But also, Spader just told her, she didn't find out till later there was a lie, but just intimated that Brolin was like a terrible rapist.
Right, no, I know he did. But regardless of her doing the whole fucking back and forth with the hat, there was a whole section of the movie. I don't care what you say because I just watched it. A minute ago. There was a whole section of the movie where Spader wanted the diamonds and he was going to double-cross Brolin. Then he didn't really want the diamonds. He wanted to be friends with Brolin. Then he didn't want to be friends with Brolin. Then there was a bit where Brolin wanted the diamonds but didn't want the diamonds. Actually, he really wanted them. Hang on a second.
Spader never changes. Yeah, Brolin never changes and she never... I know what you're saying.
They all changed. The whole script went back and forth for a whole hour in the middle of the movie with, I don't want the diamonds. I think I'll go over here. I don't think I'll go over there.
You're acting like they changed their mind, but they don't.
None of them on and on and on. And then the big twist of the whole fucking movie was that Stuart Wilson, his entire life, had the diamonds but didn't want the diamonds, but had the diamonds but didn't want the diamonds, wanted to get the diamonds away from her but didn't want the diamonds. Just fucking take the diamonds. Like it went on and on and on. It was just the worst thing ever. And
that was bollocks. I've got no idea what that was supposed to be because, can we just talk about one thing, right? And I feel like if the movie could be summed up, if the movie's complete inability to make any sense or work really could be summed up, it could be summed up by one question, which is, who the fuck is Stuart Wilson? Like, who is he? Where's he from? What does he want? What's he doing? Why does he continually hang around? Why doesn't he take the fucking diamonds? And if he doesn't want the diamonds, as you rightly point out, why does he just give the fucking diamonds to Minnie Driver? Like, the fact that he doesn't just give her the diamonds is so inexplicable and serves... This is what I mean about him being like Mr. Themes or Captain Themes, whatever. The only reason for him not to give Minnie Driver the diamonds is because, well, the diamonds are a curse. But she's like 8 when it happens. So... If the diamonds are a curse, sell the diamonds, put the money into a trust for her, send her off.
But what he does. Hang on a second. What he does is he puts the diamonds open. By the way, open in a box, as you pointed out, in a case, in a not very well concealed place, because 2 people just bumbling through the desert come across it quite openly. In fact, he puts it near the chalk drawings that she's admiring as a child, because they're all like, what are these drawings on the wall? So he puts it in a place where she would know. And not only that, but he puts it in a place where there's clearly like rock covering where she might or may not like go back to make a camp or whatever, right? But they're open. They're just there in the case. He knows where they are. But then, from when she's 8 to whatever she's meant to be in this movie, 20 or whatever, or 22 or whatever she's meant to be in this movie, so for a good portion of time, like 15 years, let's say, or 17 years or whatever, he then just hangs around her as like some sort of weird substitute father figure, which, by the way, we never find out what happens to her father. He just goes, I guess, just leaves, right? Because Stuart Wilson, it's revealed, is having it away with her mother, none of which makes any sense. I mean, the whole, like... I don't even know why we're discussing it.
It's character is the problem, because if he chose...
Everything was the problem.
He chose to let her dig around in the desert for the diamonds for 20 years rather than just say, oh, you never guess what I found round the back. Like, that's all it would take, right?
Yeah,
and then
it's
he's
awful.
away.
It's awful.
He doesn't early enough. She doesn't have, like, the curse in the movie is him.
Yeah,
like,
the movie Spader, Josh Brolin
I agree.
Awful.
It's very revealing. that we are talking about a movie on Sleazy Spader Springtime, and we barely mentioned Spader, except for the fact that whatever he's doing is like
wrong. Everything's
catastrophically weird.
Yeah.
What he's all the way through the movie, all I could think was, who are you doing? You're doing an impression of somebody. It reminds me too strongly of like a particular character in a movie or a particular actor or something.
Why?
It's not just the accent. It's
why
like,
would two people? Listen, I get it. Like anyone from anywhere could get arrested in Mexico for whatever it was they were doing and come out of prison or whatever. So for me to like pick holes in why he's some sort of like jittery New York guy in a Hawaiian shirt, it probably is redundant at this. It's certainly redundant because at this point, nobody watched this movie. Nobody seek it out to watch it. Nobody go find it. Nobody bother. It's not some like hidden gem of Spader. It's not like I would love to be sitting here and be like, this is a terrible fucking movie, but because Spader decided to do something deeply weird and deeply mad that it kind of elevated it. But unfortunately, this is one of the few times. It's interesting because last week we were talking about a film in which Spader could have really spaded it up to the max and didn't, and that was kind of the failing of the movie. Here, Spader decides to bypass Spader altogether and just fucking like, I do not know, but like jittery New Yorker madness up to the max, and it completely swings for the fences and misses completely on every belt. He can't maintain the accent, so it's just fucking painful to listen to. You cannot understand every third word that comes out of his mouth, which makes this whole fucking confusing mess of a movie even more fucking confusing. And he doesn't, there isn't enough in the script to even make his jittery character some kind of like weird linchpin that you occasionally get to think, well, at least Spader's in the corner being bananas. There isn't even that. Like, it was just awful. Everything about this movie, and I felt like it looked good and it had actors in it that I would have really liked to have seen do something with the idea. That's the most I'll say about this film. Outside of that, everything else is awful. The script is awful. The directing is pedestrian at best, and the ideas in it are thin and trite, and the performances are just some of the worst by all four actors involved, and it is so utterly disappointing because I totally could have gone for a bonkers in the desert, everyone scrabbling after the diamonds while also dealing with some deep personal issues movie in which Spader swings for the fences with a mad character. I could totally go for that movie. Sadly, this is, for some reason, not that movie, even though that's the one they're trying to make.
I know, I agree. It is dangerously close to being great. It's got three good actors, a good setting, an interesting idea of them squabbling over the diamonds, but in a way that they don't. Like, it's nice that they accidentally come across it and think their ship's come in, whereas actually it's a ship that she's been searching for her whole life, and she has to try and kind of get them off her, but like she feels that she deserves them. But at the same time, there's a thing going on where, like, should she even get them because they've been like corrupting her for so long? Like, that part of it is great, and it feels to me like, and what happened with a mum and a dad, that could even remain a mystery. Like, they could have just like disappeared one day, just even know what fucking happened. Like, you didn't need to go into that. Stuart Wilson's character, everything about him, which is designed to pull the movie together, right? Instead, it just pulls it apart because it's such nonsense, and nothing he does makes any sense as a character, and it undermines everything that happens in the whole thing. And I agree, it is bollocks.
But the other thing,
there were parts when I thought this is all right. I'm enjoying this.
The other thing that was bollocks is that they have a twist involving Minnie Driver's character, which is meant to add a layer of, not only has she been trying to find the diamonds the whole time, but she's also been carrying around this like deep guilt and blah 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 blah. But the trouble is it comes way too late in the movie, and it doesn't add anything to anything that happened previously. And
also the mum just like what was odd.
It's exactly like 2 days in the.
Kind of mean. It was like needlessly mean that the mum, having happened to her, what happened to her, she just walks out because like the movie demands that Captain Themes doesn't know what happened, right? So she has to like walk out, and so she walks out. Like her daughter, having just done the thing that she did, she just leaves. There's no like I'm sorry or like some kind of parental connection. She just leaves, and it's really hollow, and as you say, like doesn't work, comes too late. And the movie's full of stuff like that. It's jam packed full of like shoehorns, right? Like the whole film should come like with a free shoehorn. You know what I mean? With a number of things that'd be like, because at the end she has to get trapped in the desert. We better have a thing where she, like, in the confrontation, will have the car go around them in a circle on a rope, so the rope could break and she gets stranded in the desert as the car drives over the desert. But there's no way that would happen. The only reason that would ever happen is if they were a character in a movie and this would needed to be their ending. It's the only reason why they would ever make those decisions. And it was full of shit like that. But the bits where he stopped, covering
I don't know what bits you're talking about. Because every time it even relaxed and tried to do anything remotely interesting, either Spader would walk in and ruin it, or Minnie Driver's accent would fall over, or they would keep going on about a fucking parrot or whatever that bird was in the cage, or fucking Josh Brolin would come up with his fucking...
You can find out with Minnie Driver's spirit, with his, to be free.
With his fucking worldly wisdom of... I'm a little simple crook, and I'm trying to be like a Steinbeck novel, but I don't really. Yeah, it was.
Brolin was doing his best, but it was not. He was dealt a bum hand.
I tell you exactly what happened. I'm going to paint this picture, and then we're going to move off this because fuck this movie. But this is what happened. Christian Ford, like you say, wrote a bunch of stuff, got the screenplay, trying to shop it around Hollywood, blah 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 blah. Right? Someone somewhere, probably his uncle, is in Hollywood. And he's like, you got to see this kid. This kid's got this great fucking idea. We got to get this kid in the room. He gets Christian Ford in a room having dinner with Spader, Minnie Driver, Josh Brolin. I don't know, maybe Stoltz is there. Maybe a couple of other people are there, right? And Christian Ford, like all like young men who have like a passionate idea that they've got, they're like, he's telling the story of the movie. No one's read a line of the script, but he sat there and he's going, and then she's got this deep inner turmoil, and then this, and it's about obsession, and it's about lust, because lust meant that they'd lost the diamonds a second time, and it's about murder, and it's about greed, and it's about this, and these are convicts, and the convicts have their own thing, because, like, when they were 16, and blah, blah, blah. Like, he's telling this story, and people are drinking wine and eating bread and throwing cheese balls at each other, and everything's wonderful, right? And they all sign on the movie then, right? They show up in Santa Clarita in California where they filmed it, and he hands them all the script. Spader takes one look at it and he's like, the only thing I can do with this movie that I've signed on is do something that I've never attempted in any other film either before or since to our knowledge, and just go completely wild with a character that completely doesn't suit me, in the hope that it makes this abysmal script even remotely viewable. And Spader has made that decision based on a movie.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Is this, because I might have a different origin story. Is this just after Minnie Driver is in Grosse Pointe Blank?
That's a good question. Let's look it up. Was it
after Grosse Pointe Blank?
Sorry?
Was it after Grosse Pointe Blank?
I'm looking at it. It is after Grosse Pointe Blank. Grosse Pointe Blank was apparently 1997, but for some reason, scrolling through her...
That's 3 years. That's a bit long.
Yeah, that puts a hole in your whole theory.
Well, my theory was... It may still ring true, but I doubt it does. My other theory is that there probably aren't that many roles for women where they're not like a sex object, and they are basically the lead. Like, she is the lead in the movie.
No, that's easier to explain. She has her moment in 97, 98, right? So she does Big Night, Sleepers, Grosse Pointe Blank, Good Will Hunting, Hard Rain, in right. More or less in a row. In 99, she does like An Ideal Husband, Tarzan, and a voice in South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. And then she sort of ends this run of Driver with Return to Me, which was sort of the last movie she did that kind of anyone really remembers. Since then, she does what, weirdly enough, kind of Spader was doing around the time, and slips into either made for video films and or films that people haven't really heard of much since. And kind of moves into either bit parts and or...
I just wondered, because thinking about the part, forgetting everything that we said about it, it is nonetheless, she is the lead in the movie. She's not a sex pot. It's a three-dimensional character. It's not as simple as, the journey that her character makes is not straightforward. It doesn't end well. I can see why somebody might read the script. If you were, what I was thinking was, if you're an actress in 2000 and you're reading through the script that you're being sent, I imagine it would be a relatively depressing experience, right? If you're, what is she at this point? Like in her late 20s, early 30s?
Again, I don't know. Have I got to look that up?
But whatever point, she's starting to like. She's no longer like the. If you want to be something other than like, the romantic lead or whatever, but
she
basically
is 30.
Like,
she's exactly 10 years old.
So what I'm saying is, I can see why, out of all the scripts that would come across her desk, that this is the only one where she thinks this is at least an interesting character. And with her signing on, maybe you get Spader, and Spader's like, fine, I'll do it. But I'm getting on a bit, as it happens. It's coming up to the 2000s. My days of being a sleazy leading man are coming to an end.
No. See, I disagree with that as well, because first of all, he's not. Spader only just turned 60. He was not that. He was only 40 in 2000. He wasn't.
No, I know what I'm saying, but no. But that's the point in male movie stars. When you hit 40, you stop being the lead, right? That's what happens. And
I don't think that's the case. I mean, maybe.
No, that's why I'm to Pacino. Pacino disappeared before Sea of Love. People go away, and what happens is you have to reinvent yourself at this time.
I disagree, but that's because I have a theory. But I'll bring it up in a minute. Carry on with your theory.
You hit 40, and you have to turn yourself into a character actor if you're going to survive. So I wonder whether this is him not like going, well, I better be a character actor. So I'm going to do my crazy voice. That's my theory.
I don't think it's. I think it's. I think Spader, and I think he's almost admitted this, but like I think he stumbles into periods of success. I don't think he goes looking for them. Certainly not with his film roles, right? So, for example, he has a really weird trajectory, and I was kind of looking at it. And the reason why I was looking at it is because 2000. Hits right at. I was watching the movie, right, and Spader's doing his voice and everything and acting atrociously and blah 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 blah. But I was looking at it and I was thinking, he's still like for a 40-year-old guy and in the movie or whatever, like he's still like a good-looking leading man guy at this point, right? He's still lean. He's still got like a chin. He's still got hair, like whatever, right? And you look at what he's doing.
He's got more than we have, is what you're saying.
Right. You look at what he's doing around the time, right? He does Driftwood, Keys to Tulsa, Critical Care, Supernova, The Watcher, Slow Burn, Speaking of Sex. And it's not till 2002 that he does like The Secretary, which is sort of a big movie again, and then goes back to doing The Stick Up and Eyewitness and Alien Hunter and whatever, right? Because by the time Secretary comes around in 2002, he's not trying to like ride the wave of any kind of popularity. He just, scripts are coming across his desk and he's like, I'll do this one, I'll do that one, whatever, right? When you look at what he's doing in 94, 95, 96, so he's very popular in the 80s. Towards the end of the 80s, early 90s, he's sort of doing, White Palace, True Colors, Storyville, Music of Chance, like stuff where you're like, what's Spader, the Spader of, Pretty in Pink, Sex, Lies and Videotapes, Bad Influence, Wall Street, whatever, Less Than Zero, Baby Boom. What's this Spader doing in fucking stuff like, Dream Lover and Storyville and True Colors and whatever? Nobody cares. Then, with his part in Wolf, where he clearly takes it as a secondary role, no longer a leading man, takes it as a secondary role to like Nicholson and Pfeiffer, because who wouldn't want to be in that movie? Off the back of that gets Stargate. Again, suddenly he's second on the bill next to Kurt Russell. Big action, big blockbuster, big whatever. Then he gets Crash, the edgy indie movie that has like tons of controversy. And then he does 2 Days in the Valley, which while we both hate it, was, as discussed on the show where we covered it, billboards all over Los Angeles. Everyone's talking about it. It becomes a big rental. Charlize Theron explodes off the screen, yada, 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 right? So he does like 4 movies back to back at the middle of the 90s, where you could be really like, if James Spader wants to write his own ticket and do a bunch of stuff after that, he really could. He could go off and do an edgy indie career because he was in Crash. He could go off and do a blockbuster career because he was in Stargate. Or he could go off and make a bunch of like post-Tarantino Pulp Fiction wank that they're doing in the mid to late 90s and sort of eke out a career. Instead, he does Driftwood, which is, it's indie, but it's not edgy at all. Keys to Tulsa, we haven't seen it. I can't really comment on it. And then he does like this Supernova Watcher slow burn series of movies, and I'm kind of like, he had all the potential to do a ton of different things, and instead kind of does at least a movie every year to maintain whatever lifestyle he's having at the time. You know, keeps him in.
Do we even want to speculate what that would be? Yeah. Like, what is he spending his money on?
Yeah, keeps him in women and ramen noodles or whatever it is. But he's really not at any point trying to court any kind of success at all through the 2000s.
Well, that's a really interesting point. That idea that naturally, right, if whatever you end up doing, that you feel like, well, I guess, you know, the universe or whatever is telling me like I should go down this route because that's where I'm most wanted. That's where I'm going to make the most money. That's where I have the most success. Like whatever your driving force is, right? Whether it's I want to be loved or I want money, whatever, you're going to go where like the success is, right? Like that's the path that you naturally map for yourself. So when actors go off down that, even if it leads them off somewhere weird, you get that feeling of them trying to follow something to its logical conclusion, right? But you're right, with him, it's like he has legitimate successes that are, you know, with an agent, or, you know, you can imagine him meeting with agents or managers or whatever and saying, this should be your next stepping stone, right? After Stargate, you do X. So I can see, like, after Stargate, you do Supernova, right? I can see that you're going from the support in a sci-fi to the lead in a sci-fi. And I remember it being, like, relatively big at the time. But it's like, but you're right. There's like 4 or 5 year gap between them, and he's like, maybe I'll do a sci-fi again. Like that's how he's thinking about it, and it's odd that he seems. And I think one of the engaging things about him, right, is that he seems, and again, it's quite a rare thing. He seems to be relatively content with his lot wherever it should lead him. He's not driven that whatever his appetites are, like, and we have speculated many times on what they could be. And I think we both talked about this too, that it's because his appetites are so unknowable that he is quite as sleazy as he is. Like, he definitely has appetites, but it's not money, it's not fame, it's not, you know, wanting to be seen to be a great guy, right? He's not concerned with any of the normal things that Hollywood actors are concerned with, right? Like success, money, fame, hot chicks, whatever. He clearly doesn't appear to care about any of them. He's like quite happily being podgy, bald, sleazy, and, you know, comfortable, financially comfortable.
Now, he has done a couple of like huge TV shows. So after...
but the blacklist he completely stumbled into. Like, there's no reason on earth why that show should be like a 9-season long ratings juggernaut. It's like, it's, you know, by the numbers garbage that's only any good because Spader's in it, being like, if I'm really sleazy and louche, like that's apparently worth like X ratings point. It's completely bonkers when you think about it. Yeah. It'd be like, you know, Shatner in a Law and Order spinoff. It'd be like completely brilliant, but ratings gold? I don't know. Maybe, you know, like. No,
but he does, because he does The Practice followed by Boston Legal, wins Emmys for them, like suddenly realizes that maybe, you know, the Oscars aren't calling him in movies, so maybe TV is where he wants to stay.
But you're right. I think he just takes the things that interest him. And
he has what's super interesting is, like we discussed last time, he gets remarried again after the stick up, and then since he's been married, he's done a ton of TV. And it may be, all I'm speculating on is either maybe he owes his ex-wife a bunch of like money, or child support, because he did have 2 kids with his first wife, although I think they're grown up by this point. Or his new wife is sat at home. And listen, this is not like a sexist thing or whatever, but his new wife is at home going, come on, James, it's been a minute since you earned some money. You got to get out there and do a season stint on The Office. What? And then go into doing the Black.
Find that down. Like it's with The Office at the time was maybe not a rating smash, but a critical darling. It's obviously like got a ton of talented writers and actors in it who are obviously biding their time to go off and do other things and be in bigger things. And getting involved with that crew and those writers. And I bet they pitched him the character of like, because Robert California is a great character and it properly elevates that season.
I do need to watch that season because I have not watched that season.
He's great in it because he's so... he's Spader. They clearly went, can you please give us the full sleeves? And it's quite interesting because he plays it as there's a kind of a sadness and a kind of a desperation. But there's a self-awareness there. There's a lot going on, and it's really, really good. And he's great in it. And I would highly recommend it. But yeah, I mean, but I suppose because we should probably start thinking about wrapping it up now. But I don't even know. There's one bit of the movie where he's a bit sleazy, right?
Well, she actually calls him like a sleazy toad or something at one point. I was like, wait, did someone just call Spader a sleaze in a Spader movie? That's kind of incredible.
So the one bit that was, again, quite a good bit is like, because it links the characters quite nicely, and I think it's a good moment for her. What? No, it does. I'm just saying.
Jim's trying to make...
There's a bit where, you think she's going to do something tender, and instead she picks a scorpion off Josh Brolin's shoulder, and then she turns around and Spader does something sleazy by like putting his finger down the front of her top, and she just plops the scorpion on top of his hand and walks away. And there's a nice tiny little journey there between the three characters. Where all of them reveal themselves. Right? He's quite hoping something's going to happen. She doesn't really care. She's more concerned about self-preservation.
All right, enough.
And there's a nice thing there. But that's it, right? For his sleaze, him putting his finger down the front of her shirt is it, as far as I can tell, right?
Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of anything else.
1 second. All right, hang on a second, because I've got to do something. Is my microphone fine, by the way, or has it gone all fuzzy?
No, it's fine.
It's still fine, you sure?
Yeah.
Because I just knocked it and it made like... this microphone's pretty temperamental.
No. It sounds good to me. I mean, I don't know if it's the same... into your recording thing, but it sounds fine to me.
All right. Okay, so Spader questions from the Lund to wrap up this episode, which I hoped would go short.
Is he going to ask us what's in the Sleazatorium? Because we need to answer that question.
No, but we ask each other what's in the Sleazatorium.
Well, what's in the Sleazatorium?
Well, no, we ask after the questions. That's the
we do? Okay, I'm sorry. I've got my order wrong. Crack on.
You have, yeah. And can I just say as well, Andy Lunn, I put that statement out the other day on Facebook, just to let people know how I was feeling, because I've always kind of been very personable and personal through the After Movie Diner, because it is, yes, it's Jim, but it's mostly me in terms of like the social media stuff about it.
Really, I don't do anything. In case anybody thinks that because I'm on it regularly, that somehow I turn up and I talk rubbish and that's it. But the whole thing is run by you.
Yeah, it's mostly me. And I put it out and I thought, I'll get a couple of comments, maybe a few likes, that would be it. Andy took what I said to heart, bless him, and sent us not one, but 2 emails. One with questions, one with feedback of the previous episode. And I can't, to quote Wrath of Khan, I can't help but be touched. So to quote Ricardo Montalban, I can't help but be touched, or whatever. Anyway, here are this week's questions for you, chaps. I will hopefully muster together some kind of missive for you tomorrow and fire it across. He did. I read it at the beginning of the show. He says, what do you think Spader's top 5 favorite albums are and why?
Oh, that's a good question.
Well, I happen to know, again, he was on... I've watched far too many Spader interviews because I'm always trying to, find new Spader. But I think he's, a big fan of the Rolling Stones. He certainly has talked about playing the Rolling Stones on his sound system very loudly in Greenwich Village. I think it's the
I
Rolling
can see
Stones.
like Exile on Main Street would be a very Spadery album. It's quite big and brash and sleazy.
What's the album that just has like a big Y fronts on the front? That one.
Yes, is that Sticky Fingers?
Yeah, Sticky Fingers. That's the Sticky.
Yeah, that could be him.
Sticky
That's
Fingers.
a really good question.
Sticky Fingers. Spader's top 5 albums is Sticky Fingers. Is probably either number 1 or number 2. He probably has something weird in there, like he definitely has some like Earth, Wind and Fire. I think he probably loves disco. He probably has a little bit of disco in him.
Yeah, I go along with that.
Like a little bit of, but classy disco, like some Earth, Wind and Fire or something, like some classy, respectable disco.
Yeah.
I can see him gyrating around his, his louche apartment in a robe to like by the rivers of Babylon.
He's got to love the Velvet Underground, hasn't he? With the Nico, like it's a German singing on the Velvet Underground. Seems very Spadery. You know what I mean?
I think he probably goes full blown like Edith Piaf. If he wants like foreign women
I think he
singing
prefer
droning music.
German women.
No, but if you want to go like introspective foreign woman singing drony music, he's got.
Yeah, I just think he's more Nico than Piaf.
All right. Well, we'll go Nico. I don't know that he's Velvet Underground.
Fragile. He doesn't like fragile. He wants to be like, you know what I mean, thrown around a bit. He doesn't want to be like have to take care of anybody. He wants someone to like.
Well, then Joan Jett, surely he'd be Joan Jett and the Runaways or something.
I don't know, maybe, but I think Nico and the Velvet Underground. He likes that one. What else does he like? What have we got? We've got Nico and the Velvet Underground. We've got
Sticky Fingers. I'm going to look up what album Earth, Wind and Fire put Rivers of Babylon on.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. That would do. No, Rasputin, surely. Rah, Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine.
Yeah.
That's got to be, right?
Yes. But I quite like the idea of him in like a silken robe dancing to By the Rivers of Babylon. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. No, you're right. No, I like
There's
that.
just something completely weird.
No, that's good. I
and
like
Rah
that.
Rah Rasputin is Boney M. Although I quite like that because it's Boney M.
Yeah, I do think he likes Rah Rah Rasputin.
Yeah, so that out the third album is.
No, I've changed my mind. It's too on the nose. I really like your mental picture of him in like a slightly too short dressing gown. You know what I mean? Putting on By the Rivers of Babylon in front of people and then like doing it like, because it's going to be a moment where he has to put it on. It has to be like, I mean, I guess I get why he's put this on, but with the dressing gown and this song, I'm now deeply uncomfortable. That has to be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it can't be on the nose. It has to be like, I feel weird. He has to make you feel weird, but you're not sure why. That's the key.
Okay, but the on the nose answer is Night Flight to Venus from 1978 by Boney M. That's the on the nose answer.
I feel like, no, I have to say, whatever By the Rivers of Babylon is on, that's his jam for sure. And then what else does he like?
Is that Earth, Wind and Fire, or am I
completely right? By the Rivers of Babylon, Sticky Fingers, and Nico and the Velvet Underground.
Wait a minute. Am I like just confusing Boney M and Earth, Wind and Fire?
It's possible.
Rivers of Babylon is Boney M as well. I didn't realize that.
Oh, well, there we go. So the best of Boney M, and then you've got everything you need.
I could have sworn that was Earth, Wind and Fire. Seriously? I'm going to listen to it right now.
We need to listen to how many By the Rivers of Babylon are there going to be?
There's lots of different versions of it. But I've got to think this is the right version. It is. It's Boney M. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm getting my late 70s disco mixed up. So what album is it on, though? Because if it's on the same album...
Oh, I know what he likes. He likes The Prodigy. He likes The Prodigy because he'll be there in his too short dressing gown, and then he'll like be there with like a little glass of port or whatever, and then he'll put on Firestarter, right? And he'll be like, why is he putting on Firestarter? It would be like out of nowhere, some really weird, intense techno dance experience that you can't quite believe that he'd be a part of, and yet at the same time it makes total sense. So definitely Anthem for a Jilted Generation by The Prodigy is one of his favorite albums.
Also, you'll like this. Boney M was a Germany-based disco band, so that adds to his.
Nico, there you go. Nico, Boney M. He definitely got a thing for the Germans. No question.
Yeah,
So
the song was the first single from the band's equally successful 1978 album, Night Flight to Venus. So
There
I
you
was
go,
right. Night Flight to Venus by Boney M. That's...
Nico and the Velvet Underground, Music for a Jilted Generation, and one more.
Why Nico and the Velvet Underground and not just
it's the voice. It's the voice.
No, but why not just a Nico solo thing?
I think it's the banana.
Okay, I'll go with that. All right. So are we there then?
We got 4. Nico and the Velvet Underground, The Prodigy, Boney M, and Rolling Stones. So one more. You've got to imagine. I do think it's key. Your image of him in a slightly too short dressing gown, putting something on the stereo, and what comes. It can't be too on the nose, but it has to make you feel weird.
No, I've got it.
It's
the trouble is it's more Germany, but I do think Carl Orff's Carmina Burana.
Yes, that is good. That would be classical music. No, that's what it is. No, you're right.
Yeah.
Perhaps I could put on some soothing classical music. Oh yeah, that'd be nice. Would you like a glass of wine, perhaps? Or some entrees? Yeah, no, you're right. There we go. Yeah. Perfect.
So, Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. Nico, there's a lot of Germany floating around in here. Nico and the Velvet Underground. Boney M, Germany's foremost...
Because I feel like Germans would use music as a sexual weapon. That's what it is for them. For other people, it's like... For the French, it's about expressing like an indefinable yearning. For the English, it's about like, oh, well, I guess we could do this because it's raining, you know what I mean? But for the Germans, it's like, we must use this. We must use sound as a sexual weapon.
But we've got a lot of albums that are very up and very like blasty. I wonder if we shouldn't have picked... There's got to be a time where he's like smoking a gitan and like staring out of a top floor window while it rains, thinking about the world. Or is there not? Does he never do that? Is Spader 2?
Oh, no.
Is Spader 2
No, John Cage. What was it? The 333?
333 by John Cage.
Is that what it is? You know, the where it's just silence. They released it on CD. It's like... Or no, 12:37.
No, it's 4:33. It's
4:33.
4:33 by John.
Oh, come on. Spader takes the CD out, puts it on, and it's just... And the whole purpose of the song is to make you feel uncomfortable.
Well, I think we've given Andy a good answer to... I mean, he can pick and choose as he likes. Next question. Spader turned 60 years of age in February. He'll, of course, have been unable to have friends around to celebrate this milestone. I'm sure that they sent gifts, though. Who sent what?
Well, who's he friends with? You know who he's friends with. Who's he friends with?
So he is friends with Stoltzy. He's friends with Stoltzy. He's friends with Christian Clemenson, who was the jittery guy on Boston Legal and has been in a ton of stuff. I'll find more.
I think Eric Stoltz sent James Spader.
Apparently, looking at his trivia, he's also a huge fan of Bob Dylan. But that's not funny.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, unless it's like the why he thinks like that.
Oh, lay.
That's the one. You're like, how do I tell? Because he's like, you like Bob Dylan? Oh yeah, I like Dylan. Let me put on my favorite album. Oh no.
So he's good friends with Christian Clemenson, who's a character actor who's been in a ton of stuff, but is probably most well known for either the Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. and or his role in Boston Legal. He's good friends with actors Robert Downey Jr., Eric Stoltz, and Jason Alexander, and director Rowdy Harrington. So what does Robert Downey Jr. get him? What does Stoltzy get him? And what does Jason Alexander get him?
I think what Stoltz got him. Stoltz got him in an elegant display case. Like Stoltz saved his first grey pubic hair.
No, I think Stoltz gets
as a symbol of mortality and approaching death. And how even though sexuality may wither, it will not die. And to use it for as long as he has it. It was a very powerful message that actually made Spader weak when he opened the box.
I would think that Stoltz is probably a really bad gift giver because he's so miserable all the time. I would imagine that he would
That's why he would send him one of his own pubic hairs as a reminder of his impending death. and how sexual impotence is nothing more than an inevitability at this point.
Robert Downey Jr. probably sent him a fleet of cars because at this point Robert Downey Jr. is just like, I have all the money. So, but Robert Downey Jr. would have sent him like a Fabergé egg full of bull semen or something. Either that or like a really expensive painting that's just a magazine cut out of tits in the middle of a really expensive frame. So it's like modern art. It's called something like The Eyes See What the Heart Wants or some bollocks. But really, it's just a crudely cut out magazine article about tits that's in a hugely elaborate frame. And that's what it costs like $17 million, and that's what Robert Downey Jr. got it.
Yeah, okay, no,
and what did Jason Alexander from everyone's favorite show Seinfeld got him? He's the last one. What did he get him? He got him a pet piglet, is what he got him.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he got him like a pet small piglet.
Yeah, I would go along with that.
Good.
That makes sense to me.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. As Spader,
to be fair, that is a Spader sword.
As Spader is practically becoming William Shatner, it only makes sense that he should remake T.J. Hooker. How do you think he'd tackle that role?
I think you're asking the wrong question there. In my humble opinion, I think that what Spader should remake is Star Trek, is what I think. I think they should reboot the Star Trek movies and cast James Spader as Kirk, complete with like inexplicable curly brown wig, and just do them all over again.
No, I don't want any remakes. I'd rather him.
No, not remakes. Just like you go back to that era in Kirk history, and then you just fill in the gaps. You know what I mean? Like what happened before 2, right?
I would pay though to see a TJ. I don't necessarily want a TJ Hooker remake. I say TJ Hooker has got like old and fat. So Shatner is still playing TJ Hooker, but his partner is now James Spader. And it's just a series of episodes where they're on stakeouts, where they sit in an old, like, beat-up car from the late 90s, eating the most grotesquely greasy and or creamy foods while simply commenting as women walk past. And that's the whole show.
No, wait. I've got it. Although I really, really like that idea, by the way. You should definitely pitch it. I think what happens is Shatner, T.J. Hooker, no question. But instead, Spader is Shatner's informant. And every episode, right? And it doesn't have to be the whole episode, although it could be. If it was on HBO, it would be the whole episode. It's like Shatner and his informant's conversation. And every location is as weird and sleazy as the last. But like, not just like one of them's in a strip club, but like all the strippers are like wearing the masks of American presidents or something. Do you know what I mean? Like something really weird. Yeah. And then there's like a cockfighting ring like out the back of a Walmart in Nebraska or something. You know what I mean? Like just like, why are we here? And it's like, and he's always wearing like incredibly sleazy 70s clothes.
Yeah.
And like different hair, a different wig every week, but that's like slightly skewed. Do you know what I mean? And he's got like really important information, and all TJ Hooker is doing for the whole half an hour is just trying to get the information while Spader keeps wandering off on increasingly,
and the informant
avenues of like madness and conspiracy.
And the informant's name is Chappie the informant.
Yeah, I can go along with that. Yeah,
Chappie.
Yeah.
I would watch either of those two shows, quite honestly. I mean, what you could do is you could have one of the shows is a stakeout with his informant, but instead of in a normal car, they're in like an outrageous like 70s. Yeah, like a
jacuzzi. It's like one of those.
It's a car.
In the back of a limousine, and then you stake out sitting in the jacuzzi outside. Going, are you sure this is inconspicuous? Oh yeah, definitely.
And for no apparent reason, every single episode, the chair that Spader sits in always has to have one of those like beaded chair. You remember those wooden beaded chair covers?
I do, yeah.
That were, I don't know whether they were good for like massaging or back posture or whatever, but like they went out with beaded curtains, I feel. But Spader would want a lot of beads. I think he'd want a lot of beads.
He would want a lot of beads.
A lot of beads. Okay, so with that, we have one last question, which is what is going in the Sleazatorium? This movie does not lend itself particularly to this question. I have one answer, but Jim, why don't you go ahead?
No, I'd like to hear yours. The
bird goes in the Sleazatorium. The bird that has seen too much.
I think what goes in the Sleazatorium.
He's had the bird stuffed. And the cage is as it was, covered in like rust and dirt. And he's just stuffed the bird and stuck it in the middle. And just called it Minnie, like he's called the bird Minnie, and it's just in the corner.
It's eminently possible. My pitch is he keeps the dead woman's finger with the ring on it, because sometime, you never know when, but halfway through,
you might need a dead woman's
particularly sleazy, he might bring out the finger.
He might bring out.
He might do things with the finger.
Sure,
and it's not like. It's, let's be clear here. This is not a prosthetic, right? Spader insisted that for that bit of the movie, when he breaks off the finger with the ring on it and like waves it around, that it is in fact a real dead person's finger.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You know what he does? He picked out the finger, so he actually has a picture of the woman whose finger it is, like when they were in their prime. You know what I mean? Before they passed away.
Yeah.
Framed in the Sleazatorium, and underneath it is her finger.
Yeah.
So when he does filthy things with the finger, he can think about the finger who it belonged to.
Quick question: did Spader insist on seeing the tits in the movie? Because for no apparent reason in a flashback there are tits. I mean, because it's meant to be because they're having like some affair, but you can indicate an affair without tits. But I feel like Spader was like, if I'm in this movie, there has to at least be tits.
Yeah, maybe in the close-up, he was like, you should probably... I don't like Wilson's hands. I don't think Wilson's hands work for this part. You should use somebody else's hands.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could see that. But no, I think photo of the dead woman's finger, and it's brought out at parties, and Spader likes,
I'm actually surprised.
Remember her face.
I'm actually surprised that Spader has never been in a movie called Dead Woman's Finger.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that'd be one of his cocktails, right?
Oh yeah, that would be along with the
Dead Woman's Finger. Yeah.
All right. So what are we doing next week? What's the last movie that we're
going
to
Well, when are we going to... wasn't there going to be a vote? When are you going to put it to a vote?
I just worry that if we make it Keys to Tulsa is going to end up being another fucking...
I think it probably is going to be a double. Can you give me, like, just while I'm on, right, and I'm here, I did this yesterday. There's, like, a big series of the movies that I can watch.
Okay. Because we've done most of his early ones. I mean, we haven't done
Endless Love. You've done that, right? Oh no, wait, that's not him anyway.
No.
Family Secrets.
Family Secrets.
Yeah, 1984. What's that?
It's a TV movie. And we haven't done Endless Love either. Endless Love, he's in it. That's a very early one. That's from 1981. And Family Secrets looks awful. I think he's in it for like a second. It's about three generations of women.
So you've done Tough Turf. You did that already, right?
Done that one already.
New Kids we did. Jack's Back we did. Sex, Lies and Videotapes. Have you done that one?
Yeah, I've done that one.
Bad Influence we did.
We haven't done the Rachel Papers. We haven't done True Colors.
True Colors I've got.
We haven't
Wolf,
done...
I've never actually seen Wolf, just so you know.
We've done Wolf.
Oh, you've done Wolf, okay. I think Keys to Tulsa. Critical Care?
No, I haven't done Critical Care. We could do Critical Care.
Yeah, Critical Care, Supernova, Watcher, Slowburn, Secretary. Speaking of Sex?
We did Speaking of Sex.
Oh, yeah, okay. We didn't.
Didn't we? I thought we did that one.
Yeah, I know you did, but I didn't.
Oh, okay. It's awful. Never watch it. You know what we were talking about last week, where we were saying we wish there was a movie where Spader like gurned a lot and went misses.
Yeah.
It's basically that movie, and no, you don't wish that movie existed.
So it's Keys to Tulsa.
It's Keys.
I'm kind of in the mood for Keys to Tulsa because I tell you why. I'm kind of in the mood for Keys to Tulsa, right? Keys to Tulsa because him and Stoltz are mates, and there has to be a reason for that. And for some reason, I don't mind Stoltz movies, and Spader does have a weird-looking soul patch in it.
All right. I mean, it's going to be another fucking whatever, but okay. It's on.
Let's do Keys to Tulsa.
It's on Prime Video. All right. Well,
Yeah,
listen. The thing is if we didn't do it this year, we'd have to do it another year.
So let's just do it.
Considering how awful everything is right now, let's at least end Sleazy Spader with more awfulness.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and he looks like he's a sleaze bag.
Wait,
So
but it
I'm
looked like he was going to be a sleaze bag in this one, and it was awful.
Yeah,
with
sorry.
heaps of
I still
more-
maintain that there were parts of it that I quite enjoyed, but I fully support your description of it as awful.
Never, ever. I'm going to tell everyone listening, never, ever, ever track this movie down, watch it, look at it in a video store and think, oh, I don't know, it might be good. Never, ever. Just don't.
What, are they traveling back in time to this video store that they see it in?
No, but people are in like video stores where they have like old, like we were talking about last time, like gas station, DVD racks.
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't spend money on it. I mean, I didn't. It was free on Vudu, I think
It was free on Vudu. Watch with commercials, and the commercials are like 17 volumes louder than the rest of it. So every time the commercial came on, I had to mute the commercial.
Well, unfortunately, I had my headphones on, so I had to go click, and then perfect.
Nice. All right. Well, look, I did not expect this episode to go over an hour, let alone an hour and 40 minutes. But
Because you had to get it off your chest.
we just bang on and on and
We
on.
do.
And
Well,
on.
that's what we do, mate. That's what we do. That's what people don't pay for or show any particular interest in, and yet we still do it.
But yeah, no, just to repeat, obviously, if you want to contact us, it's hello@aftermoviediner.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, just subscribe on a podcast thing.
It's really not difficult to
Really
listen to
not
a free
difficult to.
podcast.
And any monies derived from the podcast in the coming weeks or on Bandcamp through Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures will be donated to good causes. Jim, before we end, actually, what I wanted to ask you was, you have a thing coming out. Yet another poem of yours is going to be published.
Oh yeah.
In a thing.
I'm very happy about it too because it's one of my favourites.
Well, you were going to turn it into a podcast.
It is the closest I have ever come to actually breaking through, which was I submitted it to Asimov's science fiction magazine, which is easily the biggest and most famous sci-fi story magazine in the world. And they don't take a lot of stuff. They certainly don't take a lot of poetry. And the poetry editor there really liked the poem and wanted to publish it, but it's 4 pages long, and they just don't have enough. They don't give them 4 pages in an issue, so they couldn't publish it. And no one has ever come close to publishing it for the same reason. And then I found out there was a magazine that specializes in publishing weird, long, crazily formatted shit. And so they are publishing Lunatic, and I'm very happy that it's going out. I think it's June 27th it comes out. The magazine's called, it's online, Sturicus, I think is the how it's pronounced. It'll be, I think, free and people can have a read.
Oh, so it's just being published online. It's not available for purchase.
There is like a print edition, but I think given that it's, I think it's free on digital. I don't know why. I mean, you could buy it if you want. I certainly wouldn't object.
Well, I will be buying it. I have my little collection. I bought the last
that's
time.
very kind. Thanks.
I bought the last one that you were published in a little magazine-ette or zine or whatever it was, and I have your book. So I want to keep.
Thanks, Matt. That's very kind.
Purchasing the published works.
That's very sweet. Thank you very much.
Of the last poet in New York.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it'll be my second piece published this year, I think, which is like, that's good. That's what I aim for. I try and aim to get 2 things.
Because the
published.
first piece is in the one that I bought, right? The little zine that came through Amazon.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah. And there's another one coming up at some point, but a lot of things got like screwed up by the pandemic, so I don't know when that one's coming out.
I mean, I don't see like going back to the cinema happening anytime soon.
No, I wouldn't even feel comfortable. You know, one of the main reasons why there's two main reasons why we haven't been protesting is neither Kim or I feel particularly comfortable in large groups of people right now, and I understand that for a lot of people that's being overridden by what's happening. But I feel like I can do as as much good at home by supporting the protests and donating and stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm going to agree with you, mate. I think.
Secondly, with my visa contingent on me being a good citizen, the last thing I want to do is sort of potentially get arrested by doing a lot of whatever.
Yeah, good point. They're not terribly. Are you a citizen or you're just a resident?
I'm a resident, but our resident visas can be removed should we.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, we have less legal rights as residents than we would if we were citizens. Like, they can just like chuck us out because they feel like it.
Yeah. So I tend to stay on the right side of the law, even though.
Except in your mind.
Even though I don't agree with the law right now.
No, I'm inclined to agree with you there.
But anyway, that was great. Thanks, man, as always.
Next week for Keys to Tulsa.
Next week, Keys to Tulsa. I fear it is going to be a slow burn too. But
probably.
It is.
We'll see, mate. We'll see.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take care, man. Cheers, man.
Bye now.
Bye.
Slow burn, Mr. Spader. Man, what is that accent? You did nothing at all to try to prevent this disaster. And I would have asked her, hey, mini driver, what you doing in this picture? Slow burn, slow burn, slow burn. Slow burn, Josh Brolin, I guess he could be forgiven. Who knows what he was doing between Goonies and No Country for Old Men? This film, though, I'd like to burn it slow. Who greenlit this summer guest? We're even doing it on the podcast. Slow burn, oh, slow burn, talking slow burn. It's Sleazy Spader springtime. We're reviewing every cinematic crime. From TVs in the valley to Keys to Tulsa. And Elon likes it, and that's good enough for us. Yeah, it's good enough for us. Slow burn, someone has to say it. Well, when he's not being sleazy, James Spader just don't play it. It's a paycheck, a road trip down payment, all for more obscene gadgets he can stick down